It's
Good morning, everyone. I'm Smita Bagla, IIT SoCal board member and a senior leader at Warner Brothers Studios. Our today's guest has built a remarkable leadership journey that spans engineering, consulting, financial services, and global business leadership. Ashish Masih, who's the president and CEO of Encore Capital Group, leads a global organization headquartered in San Diego with operations across the United States, Europe, and Asia. Under his leadership, Encore has grown into a company focused not only on financial performance, but also on helping consumers regain financial stability. His journey began at Indian Institute of Delhi, followed by graduate studies at Lehigh University and an MBA from Wharton. Then he pivoted to McKinsey, a consultant advising financial client. So before becoming the CEO, he had leadership roles at Capital One and began his career advising financial institutions at McKinsey and Company. In addition to leading a global company, Ashish has also contributed to international economic collaboration as a member of most recent US India CEO Forum. So today we are lucky to have him here and we'll talk about leadership, global business, and his journey from being an engineer to CEO. Please join me in welcoming Ashish Masih. Ashish, welcome. You have had an incredible journey from IIT Delhi to leading a global financial services company. So let's start at the beginning. Your journey started at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and one of the most rigorous engineering institutions in the world. How did that experience shape the way you think about solving complex problems today as CEO?
Thank you, Smita, for the opportunity. First of all, really delighted to be here and be part of this podcast. So, you asked about my experience at IIT Delhi. That was a fantastic experience. I would say a fantastic learning experience. When you arrive at IIT Delhi, or any IIT for that matter, I would imagine, you think you did well in school and you get into IIT, and when you land, the first thing you realize is that everyone is an overachiever, driven, and smarter than you. Surviving in that environment was very challenging and required intense focus, but it was a fantastic experience. I also developed one of my best friendships at IIT that continue to this day.
Mhm.
And overall, my education compared at IIT compared to all my other schools and education, I would say IIT Delhi was my most formative and memorable experiences.
Thank you. I really agree with the fact that when you get into IIT, it's such an eye opener that you're one of many, not the king or queen of the college that you have been to. So from there, you moved to from engineering, you moved into consulting and financial services. So what leadership lessons from consulting still influence how you run your organization today?
Yeah, that's a great one. So, in terms of leadership lessons, I mean, you develop that and grow that over time. Some of the skills I learned, for example, at McKinsey in consulting, was um, I consulted across a whole range of things: strategy, marketing, operations, technology, mergers and acquisitions. And in
Mhm.
a management consulting environment like at McKinsey, through 2 to 3 month assignments, uh, learning comes and growth comes very rapidly. It's a very steep learning curve. And one of the most critical things I learned was how to break a problem down into its component parts. There's different techniques they use, and that we learned before jumping to a solution. So it really was a very formative kind of how to solve problems across a range of disciplines, if you would. And it could be any company, any business, although I consulted mostly with financial institutions. And then as I moved to Capital One, I was there for 7 plus years, and there I had multiple roles in the credit card business. And one of the most critical things at Capital One that I learned was leveraging data and analytics for decision making as well as for driving business performance. So as I think about kind of what's been most critical through these experiences, the combination of problem solving and structuring it, but then
Mhm.
applying data, fact-based analysis to problems has been a major influence how I think about any kind of problem, any kind of opportunity that comes, any kind of challenge that comes in a business as I've grown into larger leadership roles over the years.
And you have scaled operations using strategy, data, decision making. So you joined Encore in 2009, right? And from 2009 to 2017, you rose and you became the CEO at that time with Encore Capital. What did you learn about leadership, and what can you tell us, uh, our IITians, as you moved from operational roles into a CEO seat? Because most IITians are very good at strategy and operations, but moving from operational roles to CEO, we would love to know what you learned about leadership.
No, thank you for that question. It was a big change. So as you mentioned, I joined Encore Capital Group, located here in beautiful San Diego, back in 2009. I joined in a strategy and a corporate development kind of role, as the company was looking to kind of grow and diversify. And pretty soon I pivoted to an operations role within the US business, eventually ending up running the US business as the company expanded into many other countries. So that was the initial set of years. And in 2017, the board asked me to be the CEO of Encore. And that was a great opportunity. It required a huge mindset shift. The role of a public company CEO, as I learned, is quite different from being an executive, regardless of how large your executive responsibilities were. And they could be very profound and large, but as a public company CEO, there's a few differences that I kind of learned pretty quickly. Let me give you some examples. The first is you're dealing with a broader set of stakeholders. As an executive, you may have customers, clients, employees, a whole range of things, of course. Um, but as a CEO of a public company, you also end up with shareholders as one of the most important stakeholders, and regulators, or it could be the press and the public reputation you have to think about. And the ultimate goal of all your activities is to drive shareholder value for the most important set of stakeholders, which are your investors and shareholders. So that's a big pivot that executives need to do when they get into a public company CEO role. The other difference, kind of from a day-to-day working, kind of how you succeed, is working with an independent board. As a
Mhm.
CEO, or rather as an executive, sorry, you work with a bunch of people who are smart and who you know well, and they're deep into the business, and you have a level of interaction that's very unique to the business. And with the board, who are independent and are from outside the company, of course, they know the business to a level, but they don't spend that deeper time in the business. And it's very different working with an independent board than with an executive team. And you have to invest time in relationships. You have to think through how you communicate, how you educate everyone. So that was a big difference and a fun learning experience, if you would. I would
Yeah,
say, yeah, another one is demands on your time multiply rapidly. Prioritization becomes important. So overall, it's been a lot of fun, but it's important to realize the mindset shift that's required and to
mhm.
rapidly adapt to it.
Awesome. It is very different from being in senior leadership, that too in a public company. In a private company, it's not so much because you grow up and you're responsible for everything, but the board members and others, thank you for sharing that because I don't know if most people know the difference between being a CEO of a large private company as opposed to CEO of a public company. Another question that comes to mind is with all this technology coming up, how is technology reshaping the future of financial recovery and consumer finance? What changes do you think will shape the financial services industry in the next few years?
And that's a great question. So, technology has been shaping consumer financial services for many years. And maybe perhaps a little bit of a quick background on Encore might be helpful to answer this question. So at Encore, we purchase non-performing portfolios of credit card, receivables and consumer debt from large banks in many countries. We are the largest player buyer in US, and we have a leadership position in UK. We also have presence in France and Spain, Portugal, Ireland, and India. Um, and given our size and scale, we purchase millions of accounts, and we have history on accounts over the years of 25-year history. And one of the things that comes with that is large data sets. So
Mhm.
technology has enabled analytics and kind of use of large data sets in a very profound way over the last 10, 15, 20 years, as you know. When we use those data sets and models to value these portfolios and also make decisions and how to kind of interact with the consumer. So once we purchase the portfolios, we work with consumers in a flexible way to help them pay off their debt, get their credit worthiness back. So how does this how does this kind of connect with technology? Consumers and every kind of environment, especially in financial services, like to interact more and more digitally over time, as we've learned.
Hmm.
So we've been
Mhm.
using data analytics technology to help enable that. Initially, these were much more, let's say, batch interactions or not integrated across channels. So what you might get in a phone call or on a web chat or when you go to the website, and that had to be enabled for a mobile phone, for example, those were kind of disjointed or could have been not as integrated. But over time, we have realized, and we've invested a lot in omni-channel interaction. So consumers have a seamless experience. They may begin on one channel, end up on another one, and really finish the transaction on the third channel
Mhm.
while they're talking with the account manager, let's say on the phone or agent on the phone, and they finish it up on the website. And we have made it very seamless. That's been a big change and a big enabler of value at Encore. And value being not just cost savings, but we found value to be more revenue driven from
Mhm.
technology use. So it's been a great experience. Now you can imagine, just to close this out, AI is rapidly bringing new capabilities to market for financial services. And we're testing and piloting a whole bunch of these things. At times, I would say it feels there's an endless number of startups who are trying to do the same thing, and you approach us. And as an established business, one really has to think kind of about long-term viability of certain technologies or vendors before implementing them. So it's been a great experience. The teams are really focused on it, and we're testing and trying a lot of things. But it's truly a exciting time, I would say, for using technology and data and analytics in consumer financial services.
So first it was one-on-one, then using data to help people, and now having the agents, AI agents do all for you. So thanks for showing us the technology progression at financial services, and most of our IITians who are technical can sort of connect with it. So, looking back at your journey from an IIT engineer to CEO, what leadership principles mattered throughout your journey that kept constant throughout your journey that you have followed? Could you share something like that?
Yes. So there are some fundamental things that at least I've found to be useful, whether you're in a whatever mode you're in. You could be in a more operating mode, or you could be in a transformational mode, or you could be leading an initiative. The first thing, one of the important things, is to have a very clear objective, what you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And in a business, it could be at different stages. You could be just focused on growth, for example, or pivoting to profitability and not as much growth. Or in certain cases, when there are challenges come, whether the pandemic came and other things happen, it's risk mitigation. So be very clear what objective you're trying to solve for at a point in time or for a certain part of the business or for the whole company. And then you need a game plan. Once the objective is there, kind of what are the steps? Some very basic things, but you need a
Mm-hmm.
clear game plan to achieve that objective. And in today's rapidly evolving world, that game plan needs to be flexible and adaptable, if you would. The other element is to have the right leaders and team in place. And that takes care of a lot of other things in so many ways. So when you have the right team and leaders who are well aligned with what needs to be done, and then also to kind of drive that, a supporting organizational culture that's consistent with how they operate, how the team operates. All of that is very important. And the last thing I would say is, in terms of leadership principles that are always valid, is always operate with the highest level of personal and organizational integrity. That is something that you earn over time, that reputation you build. And if you do it all consistently over time, it really pays off over the long term.
Thank you. So having a game plan, being authentic and having integrity and having surrounding yourself with people who can really support and grow with you. Those are the three that I got from your answer right now. Those are
Yep.
the ones that have mattered throughout, and I can see everywhere how it would attribute to success. We have a lot of young IIT students who are just getting into the working world and then some mid-career professionals. What advice would you give to young professionals and mid-career professionals who aspire to leadership roles in global organization?
So I'll start with an advice I think I got years ago from a senior leader and anchor my response around that. He said, kind of, that your career progression is not going to be a direct path that goes up.
Mhm.
And you will do well over time. And it is going to be a jagged path with many ups and downs on the way. So, yes, your ultimate direction trend will be up, but it's going to have lots of ups and downs. So, be prepared for that. That's kind of stuck with me. And I tell that often when I'm in team meetings or promotion dinners and other things. The other thing I would say personally is to everyone, kind of work hard on what's in front of you. There's a lot of distractions these days. There's a lot of different opportunities come, and you may get some, you may not get some, and it may be the most fun one, or at times it may not be. But do what's in front of you, work hard, do it with honesty, and make sure you're helping your team, your boss, your company, your organization succeed. And that reputation will build on you over time, and you will be trusted as someone who can deliver. And the
Mhm.
results of this career kind of hard work may not come immediately because opportunities actually come infrequently. But if you
Mhm.
do all these things in a consistent way, when they come, you'll be ready to take them on. You will be the one to be asked about it. And sometimes you may not be, but you'll still be ready at the next one when it comes. And you only need a few of these over your long career to have that trajectory that goes eventually in an upward direction.
Awesome. So, Ashish, let's end our conversation. This has been really eye-opening with a quick lightning round of 10 questions. Are you ready?
Oh,
The
okay. Yep.
answers to this should be either one phrase, 30-second answers, but it's because let's do a rapid fire. Okay.
Let's go.
Ready? Okay. One leadership habit you practice every day.
I would say when you go to work and you're in a hallway or anywhere, when you see people, look at them in the eye, smile and greet them. I believe it makes a real difference to people to get that from senior executives or CEOs or whoever they see. People remember. So just make sure you make it a habit.
A book that influenced your leadership thinking.
I would say there's a book called The Outsiders by William Thorndike. It
Mhm.
profiles 8 outstanding CEOs who've driven outsized shareholder value compared to many of the benchmarks. It's a fabulous reading and a very, very good book that I would recommend.
One skill young professionals should develop early in their careers.
Constant learning and growing. And one of the tools to do that is to read a lot. I recommend to everyone to read constantly. Read whatever you get your hands on, but read.
The most underrated leadership trait.
Humility. You have to know what you don't know and a willingness to learn and be open to other ideas.
What kind of mentors have had the biggest impact on your career?
I would say people who were very competent and successful, but were also warm and likable in their interactions with others. So that well-rounded kind of leader is what connects with me the most, who connect with me the most.
One lesson from your time at IIT that still guides you today.
Oh, there's no substitute for hard work and grind. No.
Question: if you weren't in finance, what career must might you have pursued?
Um, Something perhaps around kind of what I studied back in IIT Delhi actually had exposure to in operations research or analytics, something along that line perhaps might have been the case.
Data guy all the way, huh? The biggest leadership challenge CEOs will face in the next decade, coming decade?
I would say rapid changes in AI and technology that's bringing not just to companies and businesses, but also to societies and culture. And it's going to have profound implications for workforce, for customers, for regulation. So this is something that all leaders and CEOs and even young professionals will have to face up and kind of work through over the next decade or so.
So this question is that these days all is about AI, and you also
Mhm.
mentioned AI. So I want you to complete this sentence that AI will replace da 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 da. What your thoughts on it? What will it replace?
Ah, Let me try to answer that. So I would say AI has both hype and reality. So there's a lot of hype in terms of it'll replace every work or whatever most work people do. There's a lot of hype there, but there's also a reality of AI bringing fundamentally new capabilities that were not possible. So that are going to transform the businesses. So it's going to be both hype and reality that we need to face up to.
And one final rapid fire question. One piece of advice for the next generation of global leaders.
Learn all the time and be adaptable.
Ashish, this was amazing. Thank you for sharing your leadership journey and insights with us today. It's inspiring to see how a path that started at IIT Delhi can lead to shaping public global businesses and impact thousands of lives. Your one leadership advice of constant learning and being another one of being humble really resonates with most of us. And thank you for pointing that out. And thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Smita. Really enjoyed it. Appreciate it. Take care.